Hello, good morning again. Well, we're back again this week with Dr. Everett Byers, who's a functional medicine practitioner with lots of experience in anti-aging, reversing aging, and really beginning to look at how to change some of the degenerative diseases that we're all faced with. Last week we talked about metabolic detoxes and how you basically really begin to clean out the body and set the body up for an opportunity to just really re-heal itself. There's so much great information out there today, Everett. There's so many really incredibly brilliant scientists that are doing things, understanding how the body works. But one of these areas that I'm really fascinated with is the energy of the body. How does the body make energy? Where does the energy come from? What's the kind of fuel you put into the body to really begin to create optimum health? And I'm assuming it's not Coca-Cola and Twinkie Donuts that do it for us.
Exactly right, Jim. So true. Energy production within the body is everything, because that's anti-aging, that prevents us from having disease, that heals the tissues, keeps us functioning at an optimal level. And it's most important for that energy production to happen. And it's more than just the food that we eat, but it's also somewhat the energy that's within the food. And not all food is created equal, and not all protein carbohydrates are the same. So it's very important because, as I mentioned, I believe at the end of the last episode, that food is information.
Yeah.
And that information is going to what signals the genes to do what they need to do to produce the energy that we need to have for our system and our body. So having the right foods to get the right results is quite important in functioning at a optimal level within our cells and tissues. Energy comes in certainly the form of food and sunshine, etc., and grounding and things like that. For the nutritional standpoint, this energy is taken into our system, that the food digested, absorbed, and then is taken out to the cells through the liver, etc., to be processed and utilized. And this is so interesting. We thought it was actually the genes that controlled the cell and the functioning. But what they're finding out now, this is so incredible, is that it's actually the cell membrane that regulates what goes into the cell and comes out. And we want the cell membrane to be very healthy and happy. And one thing that they need is the right oils for that. Very important for the brain cells.
Oil.
Yes, having the right oils. And everybody basically, Jim, needs an oil change, just like their car does. And with that, we need to get off of the bad oils, and that's going to be your trans fats, that's going to be the omega-6s, that's going to be the fried foods.
Unsaturated,
yes.
polyunsaturated oils.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we need to get the good oils in there, and certainly everybody knows that's going to be the omega-3s and the other oils that we thought were taboo, causing problems, but that we actually need to have, such as the coconut oil, such as some of the saturated fats, the monosaturated. Because we need to have the healthy cell membranes to help with energy production and regulation of the cells, and also the mitochondria within the cells. As our mitochondria goes, so goes our health and our energy. Now, mitochondria produce ATP, but they're little organelles within the cell, Jim. Most people might have not heard of them, but vitally important. As we get older, our body decreases the production of them. We lose more of them.
These are called what?
Mitochondria.
Mitochondria, see, okay, we're talking.
Yeah, mitochondria. And we don't make enough of them like we did when we were younger, except you can change that.
Nice.
That's the neat part about the program, Jim. We can instruct the cells to make new mitochondria. There's things we can do, such as simple as exercise, that increases the production of them, because mitochondria are let's kind of explain what they are.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, they're the energy factories of our cells.
Right.
And we've got to have those guys function at optimal level to heal our tissues, prevent disease, and keep us younger, longer, and active. So it's very important to keep those at a optimal functioning level.
Now, generally what happens with the dying off of mitochondria, or dying off of cells in general, there's just not enough energy to keep them going. So the mitochondria begin to stop producing quality energy.
Correct.
And the quality energy is really a direct function of the quality fuel you put into the cells. So I know you've done a lot of research and a lot of work on that, and there's a Dr. Joseph Mercola down at UCLA, somebody that you know, and has done an enormous piece of research on how the body in fact processes food and what we've been told, and how the food industries have grown up and just dominated our health blindly to a great extent. Really isn't the way that health works. It just, you're being fed foods that are really not even the right foods.
Yes.
But Dr. Mercola came out with a lot of research on using an oil diet, exactly what you're talking about, ketone oil diet basically, and coconut oil, olive oils, avocados, a huge food source for the mitochondria to begin to regenerate the cells of the body. So you want to talk about that, and maybe
Oh, absolutely.
Talk about that book.
This is the book, Fat for Fuel. Very, very cutting edge, very transformative. We're coming out of the 3D realm of survival and our mass consciousness with diet and eating habits now, Jim. And we're moving into that fourth dimension, the fifth dimension, where things are changing. And we're going to change the things for our body so it can keep up with our transformation of our change in consciousness. And we want to catch the body up. This is certainly one way to start in that process, as doing the metabolic detox and then sending the right signals. That's what this diet does. It helps, and it's actually an eating program. You're going to be eating a lot of good oils, adequate protein, excuse me, but less carbohydrates than what you're certainly used to. And the reason is we want to look at the things that destroy our cells and tissues and eliminate those. That's certainly going to be sugar, and it's certainly going to be the simple carbohydrates. This is so revolutionary in the way he presents this here, to implement it in your daily activities of living. But you want the good oils, as Jim said, and this is important. This goes with a modified ketogenic diet. Ketogenic diets is where you have your main source of calories is from the good oils, as Jim had mentioned, adequate protein with just a low amount of carbohydrates, but certainly adequate. The reason is and this has to do with the way their whole body functions, as far as the pH of our system. Eating sugars and a lot of breads and these types of starches and things increases the acidity of our body.
Well, this is what just junks up the whole internal system and the intestinal system, and consequently you need a metabolic detox to get back into a good place.
Exactly right.
So, but this book is really very fascinating. We really strongly recommend taking a look at it. It talks about the history of food in terms of since the 18th century, and how Kellogg food and some of these different things, some of these oils that you started eating, cotton oil, which was killed the animals until the cottonseed oil, until they reprocessed it a little bit and then decided we'll just give it all to humans. So lots of these things that we just take.
Wesson oil.
That's what was called Wesson oil, and basically it's poisonous to the body. So beginning to recognize what you're eating and how eating differently, not dramatically differently, not really interrupting your...
Just different choices.
Different choices, not really interrupting your whole system significantly, is going to make a change. Now, one of the things that I keep being real conscious of is the shift in consciousness is really allowing the body and the cellular structure to change much more easily than it has been in the past.
Yes.
And so recognizing some of these changes that are possible in terms of making a substitute. I know we eat a lot of avocados and coconut oil, primary part of our diet, and where there was interest in breads and where there was interest in sugars in the past, there's just no interest. The interest is gone. The body is not interested in eating its habit any longer because it has a substitute that burns a whole lot cleaner and more functional in the body. And I can say in my own diet, and I'm very healthy.
Absolutely.
The change in my health level was really quite amazing in terms of the clarity, the focus, the energy that I had to do things, even though I had quite a bit of energy before.
Yes, it changes the the energy in your system, and this is quite noticeable as people do the metabolic detox, because food has an energy within itself, within the molecules, and these molecules then create a feeling. And that feeling then creates an emotion. And so you actually have a feeling and emotion of your system, which is actually somewhat another, it connects with another, forms another mind of its own or brain. And what we can start doing is to getting that synchronized with the consciousness levels that we're progressing into, so that they're more in line with each other, and we bring the body with it. And doing that with the right foods to send the right signals and the right information, the right energy is quite powerful.
Yeah.
For an individual. You'll become more sensitive to the energies. And also, that what I've noticed, Jim, is I become more sensitive to myself, and I become
Excellent.
more sensitive to my own thought patterns that I thought I cleared, and there's still these little energies are popping up. I
Sure.
go, are you kidding me? Look at that. I never even saw that before. And this, doing the metabolic detox, and particularly a lot of times I'll do 3 days of water fasting with the detox products. And you become so much more sensitive to yourself, so that you can really make the changes. And it's just, it's
Yeah, there's something I've learned too that's really interesting, and I've watched this for years. You know, if you look at a town, a city, and a portion of the city starts to deteriorate, and then it deteriorates further, you begin to get a clientele, a type of person that comes and lives there, and you have lower and lower having as crime increases, et cetera, and that begins to be a general problem. Parasites in the body function exactly the same way.
Yes.
Parasites, and your body is full of parasites. It just comes with the territory. You're like the earth. Everything lives on the earth. The parasites live there. But when the body isn't healthy, it's like that deteriorating part of the city. And you start to get anaerobic environments where you get a whole different set of parasites. Parasites bring with them thoughts. Now, that's a whole nother topic for another time. But you begin to have a degenerated environment in which the body is now hosting this kind of dis-ease that ultimately happens. And these metabolic detoxes and the change in oils, the getting off of the sugars, some of the carbohydrate levels that we all take, and basically it's like a renovation project in the city. The parasites just can't sustain themselves in aerobic, high energetic, vibrational circumstances. So this oil diet begins to be something that starts to have multiple effects across the board. Those degenerated places I'm watching in a person's body is what you mentioned last week: arthritis, rheumatism, different kinds of dysfunctional aspects of the body. Lots of inflammation comes out of the poor dietary structuring. So what you're talking about in your success with reversing aging and reversing the chronic disease is really exciting. The real cutting edge out where you get to play is
it's
really
all possible.
very fascinating.
People have control over about 90% of their own health, and they don't know it. But that's what we want to bring, is that information. They can make those changes.
Yeah, let me bring this to your attention once more time. This book, easy reading, very, very informative. It has recipes, it has diet instructions in it. It talks about oils that are good. It talks about the history of the food industry in terms of the relationship with the governments and how we actually got here. Very informative book, but Joe Marcola is just one of these brilliant people who have been just dropped on the planet to begin to change the direction. So something we would recommend. I'd also point you to Everett's website. There's lots of good information there. We're not necessarily here selling anything. We're just basically telling you where you can start to look at places to shift yourself in this shifting process of this consciousness change that we're all playing in. So Everett, again, thank you very much for
Thank you,
kind of
Jen.
playing here. We're going to come back next week with Everett one more time, and I'm not going to be here. Roxane's going to be here, and we want to talk about hormones, both for males and females, but things like menopause and how to basically move through that in a way that's a lot more comfortable than many women go through. But men go through an aspect of menopause also. It's called
Andropause.
Andropause. And it's really upsetting, and most men don't even understand what's going on, and they don't have any sense that they could possibly be having something like that happen. So hormones and a little bit more about how to balance out your reality. So I hope this is really useful. And Everett, again, thank you so much for being here. This is kind of fun. And I hope this is helpful information for all of you. So look forward to seeing you next week.